I've been asked by quite a few people to do a bit of a Arma 3 editor overview, so that's exactly what I'm going to do in this video. So I've been monitoring Arma 3 for a bit, and as everyone knows, it's now out for PC. But the way Bohemia have done it with this particular release is that they've released a game that will continuously be patched. So it's basically a work in progress, even though it's now out, essentially. So I made the conscious decision to wait for a few months after release until I actually started to properly play it. But this is the latest build as is at the time of making this video. So, and it's starting to shape up as a game, starting to look really good. There's certain little things I've noticed they've done in the last few patches. They've really improved the AI, for example, and just little small things, added more units, which is the key one. So this is the Arma editor. Now I've been using this editor on and off for about 10 years now, because it basically is the same editor as the one from the old Operation Flashpoint in terms of the meat and body of it. So let's just do a bit of an overview. I've selected the big map from the game, load it up. First thing I always do is I press F6, which is the insert marker, and you just put down a marker, so that shows up on the map, and it means that when you're in game you can see your objective on the map. It's a simple little thing, but it just adds a little bit. So I'm just going to provide you with just some very basic editor tips so you can create your own huge battles in Arma 3. Nothing too technical. So insert unit, F1. This is where you can select particular units such as infantry, tanks, helicopters, you name it, any unit in the game. Individually select them and select the side, and you select if they're going to be player or not, so that's key. So you, on the control there, you select player, and if you don't do that, they're a non-playable NPC and you can't load the game. You won't be able to actually load the mission up, and that preview button at the top will not be visible because you won't be able to preview anything because there's no playable entity on the screen. So that's something. So if you're new to the editor, that's something that you need to be aware of. It's quite key, actually. So let's put down some more units. So I've selected a player there, so I'm going to put down a couple other units, just random units. I'm just intrigued really at the moment to see what these units are, because they keep adding to them. When this game first came out, the unit selection was quite basic, to be honest. I was actually a little disappointed, but they've expanded. So F2 is a shortcut to group, so you can insert group, and this is basically a handy shortcut to put down pre-created squads of vehicles and of infantry. So there I've put down a weapon squad there, I think, and they're already in a sort of formation, and the blue line represents a kind of chain of command. So the officer, so I've just broken that chain of command there by dragging the line, the link away from the officer, the squad leader. So as you can see, it means that a second squad leader has been created, that little character on the right. So it's just something to be aware of in the editor. When you see it, that's what it means. It's a chain of commands, and if the officer, I mean, dies, then command goes down the chain. You get second in commands and all that business. So it's very impressive. But all this is just from Flashpoint, really. This is what I'm saying. Like, everything that makes Arma 3 a game with actual logic behind it and programming is pretty much base Operation Flashpoint code, to be honest, because this is all really what it was like back in 2001 playing Operation Flashpoint. But it's a solid system, and if it works, don't break it at the end of the day. So I put down some M4 tanks there, Scorchers. It's just kind of set in the future slightly, this game, so some of the vehicles are kind of futuristic and new, and kind of based on what will probably come, I guess, based on educated guesses. So I've put down some units there, and I've put down a couple of groups, and I've backed them up with some tanks, and these are all the Op 4 side, so as a result they're blue, so they're friendly, they're all friendly. So all I'm going to do here, this is trigger, this is F3, shortcut to insert trigger. Now if I'm honest, I can't remember how this works, but it looks kind of familiar to how it worked in Flashpoint. You put some text down, you basically create a trigger, and what that means is that you have to have an activation value, so the presence of the blue 4 team, for example, and as soon as that's triggered, as soon as a player or an NPC enters that zone who's on the blue 4 team, the event will trigger, basically, hence the name trigger. And you can add various effects, music, text on screen, camera pans, all this kind of stuff, so you can basically make your mission scripted and structured, which is what people like to do. But I'm going to just do a really basic one there. Effects, no music, just a bit of text at the presence of blue 4, and you can set the radius of what you're pinning down. So I've just gone for the standard default size, I think, and I think, like I say, I can't remember exactly what, there is something specific you have to do that triggers this, so I actually can't remember how to do it, but it's worth being aware of. If you're looking at the editor and you want to know more about this, just read up on triggers in the Arma free editor, and you'll find out as more than I know anyway, because I only really dabbled with triggers in this editor. I never really got technical about it, just did really basic things. But that's what that radius means. It's a trigger that sparks off the event that you're trying to initiate. So this is waypoints. So this is the key, really, if you want to create epic battles in the editor. Just basic stuff, nothing too technical. You have to create waypoints for your squads, and each squad leader or officer who's part of a unit will have this order, and they will instruct everyone in their squads to proceed to a particular zone. And you can do things like set your combat mode, you can set your speed, you can set your behaviour, and this is really where it's key. And you can actually select the type, and this is all this wording is exactly as it used to be back in Operation Flashpoint. So this is what I mean about it all being based on an old game, and I'm not complaining, I'm just saying that is the case. So seek and destroy, and this was always the one that I use. I don't know if it's the right one, but seek and destroy seems to be a kind of a generic attack dislocation style order. So I always use that, and you can set the radius of the way, and this is actually key, because if you leave the radius of the waypoint at its default, it's a small area. So if you expand it out, it means that the squads will expand out in terms of their formation. And the AI is very good in this game, and it has always been good in all these Flashpoint games going way back. And as a result, the formation will change, and the AI will move in different directions to spread out and to cover the ground. So that's key. You expand the radius of the waypoint, and you drag and drop, essentially. You drag it where you want them to proceed to move to. You can stack them up. You can have more than one waypoint, so they move to point A, then move to point B, etc, etc. That's all quite straightforward. But I'm just doing basic stuff here, and I've put down seek and destroy. You have to do it for multiple units, so I have to put a seek and destroy waypoint down now for every other unit. But just for the purposes of this mission, which is just a basic thing I'm knocking up, I'm just going to put down move for the rest of them. This is the intel screen. You just select it at the top. There's a link at the top of the editor, and you just type your basic stuff like attack location. You can obviously go deep if you like. About the most important thing to remember about this screen is this is where you go to set your weather. You set the forecast, whether or not it's raining. You set time of day, and you also set who the resistance is friendly towards. So essentially, if you have, it only works if you place them down, but if you had a third force in this game, in your editor, in your mission, you set who they're friendly to, the reds or the blues. Essentially, it's just a trigger. Again, it's just it sparks different reactions from the AI. So you've got to save the mission, so I'm saving it. You get various save options in this. You can save it as a multiplayer mission, you can export it. I think it's all pretty much the same as it's always been in all of these Bohemia games. So we put that down. And for those who have some knowledge of the way it went, back when Codemasters were in control of Flashpoint, they obviously utilised this editor for Flashpoint, But now the whole Operation Flashpoint series is a joke. It's farcical. It's a terrible series. I think they've pretty much cancelled it now anyway because they knew it was so poor. But that was because Bohemia had nothing to do with it. I can't remember the details, but it was a bit like what happened with Infinity Ward. They just split up from the publisher due to some legal dispute, I guess. And this is the editor that was originally in Operation Flashpoint. To be fair though, the actual editor in Operation Flashpoint Dragon Rising, which is the Codemasters' more recent Flashpoint game, isn't terrible, but it's nowhere near as good as this one. So I've put down some enemy units now, so they're red on the map, and all you need to remember when you do this is you select the Op4 side, and that's all you need to do. It's much more straightforward compared to the gem editor in Men of War, where you have to mess around with setting player numbers and all that business. You don't do that in this. You just have Op4 and Blue 4. So I'm just putting down a few factions, a few squads. I'm trying to even it out, so I give them some tanks as well, give them a comparable amount of troops. But I'm only messing around with this. I'm just showing you how to play the editor, so I'm not going to go too deep. And you can do strange things there. I mean, about the most technical thing I know how to do in this particular editor is synchronizing vehicles to pick up squads of infantry, and perhaps I'll show that to you in another video some other time. But it's where you will create two waypoints that are synchronized. I think you use the F5 key to do it, if I remember right, but it's all based on memory. And what that means is that the squad with the waypoint to move, for example, to a pickup, will only initiate that waypoint once a helicopter lands at that location, for example, so they know to get on in that particular vehicle. It's transport unload, I think, or transport load, one of the two. But like I say, I'll do a video maybe at some point if people want to see it. But it's quite good because you can create pretty epic style scenarios, a bit like the one I did last year. For those that have seen the parachute one I did, kind of Band of Brothers homage, using the Arma 2 mod. Anyway, so I'm loading up the mission I've just created there. So I've put down a few units. I set the enemy to have defend waypoints, which is something that you can do. So the enemy have a defend waypoint, whereas the attackers have a seek and destroy waypoint. So you select the location. It's actually key when you do the defend ones to expand your radius. So we've instantly entered into some combat here. Oh, there's an interesting bug here with Arma by the looks of it. If I strafe, there's no animation, which looks really awkward. But this is an awesome game though, but still buggy. So these are interesting vehicles, these tanks. They're kind of like mobile artillery pieces, but obviously with huge range. Taking hits. I don't remember this animation bug. It's a bit annoying. They'll probably patch it by the time I put this video out. So anyway, let's see if we can spot some enemy forces, perhaps get a kill without dying, which is always a challenge in Arma, unless you're patient, and I'm not always patient. So just trying to close in. So this really shows you how easy it is to make basic style scenarios in the editor that are fun to play and play out realistically like battles. And you can put down loads of enemy units, and you can create scope. You can create huge scope in this game, like Men of War. That's why I love it. So let's just scan the area. One of the things I'm disappointed about with Arma is there is no way to rest your weaponry against physical terrain, like Battlefield, for example. And I don't really understand why they didn't bring that feature in. Perhaps they just didn't have time. But I'm pretty sure that they will bring that out, maybe in a patch or in a future Arma title, because it is just a bit of, I don't know, it just feels awkward now in my opinion, trying to play a game realistically, and having a limitation in place, such as not being able to rest your sniper rifle against a rock to prevent scope drift, for example. It just seems like it should have happened. And there's no bipods for your rifles, not to my knowledge anyway, unless they've patched that. But that's a big oversight. They should have brought that in. But it reminds me really why I download mods. I've not actually got around to it yet, but you can download the Ace Combat mod, I'm sure, for Arma free, and it gives you all that stuff anyway. So I may have to look to do that at some point. Graphically, it's obviously a really impressive game. I've got it set for Ultra, I think, pretty much maxed out graphics. Maybe not Ultra actually, but it's high. It's very high settings. The thing that really kills performance is draw distance. If you try and set it to render the max, it will just destroy most rigs. The frame rate just dies. So, trying to see an enemy here. It's proving quite difficult to spot anyone. So it's got a nice sort of realistic feel to it at the moment, this particular scenario. Oh, here we go. Nice camouflage there. And that's a kill. If I remember, yeah, if I remember right, there's a way to zoom in with the scope. Like I say, I've not really played Arma in a while. I've just been waiting for it to build up with the patches. Impressive vehicle, that, very impressive. There we go. Like the zoom. So I'm just going to play on really until I die, I think. I'm going to try and just run in there in a minute and try and take some enemies down with me. But this goes to show, like I say, that it's very easy in Arma to just create battles. I don't really play the single player scenarios. I've heard that the single player in Arma 3 is okay, but if it's even out yet, I don't know if they're going to patch that in later or not. I've not even checked actually, but I don't really have any interest. For me, Arma's all about just the editor. You create scenarios. Oh, nice. There we go. Finally getting some good views here of the enemies. Oh, that was nice. They've really improved the death animations in this. Proper ragdoll. And the AI, the thing that impresses me the most about Arma is the AI. They've really improved the AI in this. I can just tell by the way the units are moving around and just sort of generally using cover. It just seems a little bit slicker than Arma 2. And the last time I played this, in fact, because obviously they've been patching it a lot since release. Be interesting to see if they're planning on releasing this game for the next gen consoles. Don't know if they are. Not read anything about that, but it would be interesting to see an Arma free on them. I'm going to try getting in a vehicle. I literally have no idea what I'm doing at the moment because I've never even been in this vehicle. Huge main cannon, look at that. So let's see if I can fire a weapon at that building. Oh, friendly fire. That didn't quite work out then. So I think I have to set the range. I have to adjust my angle. I don't know how I elevate the main gun though. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm meant to be doing here with this vehicle. It's been abandoned as well. I'm not entirely sure what's happened there. Maybe the main gun's been destroyed and the crew have abandoned the vehicle. I don't know. No, it looks pretty. It looks a bit damaged there. I don't know. It's a mystery. See, I feel like a complete noob at the moment. I just haven't really played this game a lot. So, can I change seats maybe? I guess I should be able to. So that's what I was referring to earlier. You can see the marker on the map there. That's the marker I put down in the editor. It's just a nice touch. It just shows you, oh, T90 enemy tank. I'm gonna try and engage that somehow. No. Oh, what the hell? Okay, that's definitely not going to do it. I'm aiming right up into the sky there. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm getting out of that vehicle. Oh, actually, I did fire a shot. I don't know, mystery. I think maybe the enemy infantry, no, friendly infantry on my side, I think they took out that T90 probably with a lure or something like that. It's impressive. Feels like a, look at that cover, that's really impressive. Just the AI is leaning there, leaning to the left of that wall. Try and get his, just clip his hand maybe. Oh, kind of don't want to kill him. I'm so impressed by the AI. Just has a really cool, authentic feel to it. This definitely need to start playing this game more. That's for sure. I'm just going to run in there. So there's obviously way more to this editor than just creating these really basic scenarios. You can set all sorts of things. You can create logic, and you can add your own cinematics and voiceovers. You can do all sorts. I've never dabbled with all of that because for me, it's the fun really is just being able to just create huge battles, huge scope, huge vehicle counts and stuff. I've not really pushed it Arma 3 to beyond more than around 50 or so units though, because I'm guessing it's probably gonna cause me issues if I'm trying to play it in really high settings with loads of units. I'm going to experiment with that though, because I may find that it's okay. So I'm going to move in. So we get a sense of how long it takes in Arma to clear an area of enemy troops. It really does sometimes take hours even to play a scenario like this out, a really basic scenario, because the AI is just that good at just kind of sneaking around, and you're never entirely sure what they've moved to. That's quite a grim sight. Oh, I'm burning. Get away from that. Nice fire effect. So I'm going to try and do this the smart way. Throw a smoke grenade. Cover my advance as I run through, because this is quite an open bit of terrain. Could have waited longer, but nice feel to it. Feels like I've actually done something realistically. So let's try and scan the area for some enemies. There's still loads in the city. Oh, I've taken a hit there. Need to bandage up. Can't remember how you do it. Yeah, there we go. So, where did that come from? Oh, more hits. think another one of those Scorchers has been abandoned. I guess the T90s are probably capable of destroying those quite easily, because they're not really main battle tanks, these. I don't think. I think they're really artillery units by the looks of it. I'm going to try and... I'm sure there's something I'm missing with this. I still haven't quite sussed what I'm meant to be doing. Oh, more friendly fire, whoops. Yep. I killed someone there. Friendly. And a civilian. Oh no, I killed a snake. Your kills. Friendly. Civilian. Snake. Brilliant. So it actually logs that you've killed a snake. That's impressive. So I wonder if you can... I'd like to look for a snake now. I want to see one in game. Could be here a long time. I'm not sure if there's building destruction in this or not. I can't remember now. I think there always was actually in Arma. So I'm sure there is some basic level of destruction. I'm just trying to move this vehicle around a bit. I have no idea what I'm doing. I think it's probably going to end in failure in a minute. I'm getting out. So I've got some kills. So I'm happy with that. So I'm going to wrap this video up. It's almost half an hour long now. So yeah, if you got Arma free, I hope I've just given you a bit of a very basic overview of how to create some editor scenarios, just some basic battles that you can have fun with, because that is what this game's all about, in my opinion. And the online, sure, that's good fun, but I think just being able to create huge battles in the editor, that's pretty much, for me, the main reason why I purchased this game. Ah, okay, there we go. I was killed. So, yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. And I'll probably do a few more Arma style editor videos at some point. And I'm going to just keep my eye on this game, see how it progresses over the next few months, because I think they're going to just keep patching it. So stay tuned for more.